Hey, what's up? This is the first episode of the Sly Pig News Network. I'll be talking about politics, sports, pop culture, pretty much everything, stuff that's going on in the news. I'll be posting videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Every Monday and Friday, I will be doing a sports show, and every Wednesday will be a news and politics show. Even though today's Wednesday, I'm going to start off by doing sports since we're having a good sports year so far. Started football and almost NBA season, so basically how I'm going to do each of these shows is I will first start off with the topics that I want to talk about, and then at the end of each video I'll have a segment called Dumb Slut of the Day, which is basically what it sounds like, who's the dumbest slut of the day. So first I want to talk about college football. There were a lot of great games this weekend. The Notre Dame-Georgia game, the Wisconsin-Michigan game. Michigan looked god-awful in that game. And Notre Dame, I was surprised they played very well going into Georgia. Very, very close game down to the wire. And then the best game I saw this weekend was Pittsburgh beating UCF. That was incredible. Pittsburgh really just gave it their all and did not give up and beat UCF, which I'm happy about because UCF fans are annoying as shit. Another great game that I can't even believe it happened was Washington State versus UCLA. I mean, Jesus, what a comeback by UCLA. Props to them. I mean, they were down 49-17 in the third quarter, and they came back and won 67-63, which I don't even know how that's fucking possible, but you know. Right now, a lot of very good teams in the top 10, especially in the top 5 right now. LSU is looking incredible. Joe Burrow, I mean, he's up there for Heisman contention this year. Georgia's looking great. Clemson and Alabama always look great. Ohio State's looking really good, especially with Justin Fields. Oklahoma's looking really good. I mean, I don't know what they're doing at Oklahoma, but every transfer quarterback they get, I mean, golly, it's just incredible what they're doing over there. But as of right now, I would say my top 4 who I got going to the playoffs are Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. Those are my top 4 right now. I think for the 4th spot you could either put LSU or Ohio State, but I don't like 3 teams in the same conference in the top 4. Plus, honestly, I think Ohio State right now is a better team than LSU, but not by that much. So, since we were talking about Washington State earlier, let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend. In his 3rd game, he is already the most popular quarterback in the NFL, Gardner fucking Minshew. This man is a fucking beast. He's awesome. He's got swag. I mean, he's got a great arm too, and he's very good decision maker. His first 2 games were losses, yeah, but he came in halfway through during the Chiefs game because Nick Foles got injured, and during the Houston game, I mean, that was just a bad call on the coach to go for 2 at the end of the game. So I don't know what they were thinking there, but he looked really good against the Titans, and I think he's only going to progress from here, especially with how good Jacksonville's defense is playing this year. I think they're a really scary team, and they could win that division, especially with how weak it is. Cleveland they're Clevelanding out. Like, I don't know how you have that good of a team and still play like shit. Like, every fucking play, they have 50 penalties. Every single time they touch the football, it's a penalty because they're not disciplined and they're not playing football properly. And it's really hilarious to watch. But at least they're not the two worst teams in the NFL, which I would have to say it's a three-way tie between like Miami, Washington, and the Jets. I mean, the Jets are like on their fifth string quarterback. Washington always plays like dog shit, and Miami probably lose to Alabama and Clemson. So, we there's a lot of quarterback situations going on in the NFL, and honestly, I think the funniest one is Cam Newton getting benched. I mean, former first round pick, and I never really saw him as that great of a quarterback. I mean, he had like one good year, but like other than that, he's not a very good passer. I mean, yeah, he's big and he's a good runner, but that's because it's hard to take him down. I don't think he's a good NFL quarterback, really. And the year that he did go to the Super Bowl, he had a great team around him, and you could tell during that game he just didn't care. I mean, it was just sad to watch. But uh, Allen, who is now the starter for the Panthers, he's looking really good, and I think he can have a really good season this year. Last thing I want to talk about in the NFL, and I don't even know why this is a thing, but OJ Simpson has a fucking Twitter account, and it's hilarious. Now, I've been following OJ because I mean, who wouldn't? And he has a fantasy team, and he literally has the worst fantasy team I have ever heard of. I mean, yeah, it's good players, but he did not think this shit through. He drafted like Andrew Luck, Saquon, and like a bunch of other players that have either already retired or gotten injured. So, if you're one of those players, watch the fuck out. So let's transition from football into MMA. So this past weekend we had UFC Mexico. Jeremy Stevens versus Yair Rodriguez. And the ending to that fight was absolutely devastating because, and if you don't know, 15 seconds into the fight, Yair Rodriguez poked Jeremy Stevens in the eye, and the fight was called off and called a no contest. And the one thing that really pissed me off was the reaction to the crowd. The crowd started throwing beer bottles into the ring, started calling Jeremy Stevens like bitch and pussy, and that's uncalled for. I mean, this is a man who dedicates his entire life. He spent time away from his family. He spent 6 weeks training in Mexico City away from his family so that way he could train for this fight, adjust to the altitude, and they're disrespecting him like that. I mean, that is a man trying to feed his family, trying to do his job, and it's not his fault that the other guy poked him in the eye and the refs and the doctors called the fight. So that was really distasteful by the fans in Mexico City. But big fight announcement also came this weekend, and that is Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. That is going to be a very fun fight, and that I believe it's at UFC 245 in Vegas in December. Max Holloway is coming off a win off of Frankie Edgar, and Volkanovski's coming off a win over Jose Aldo. So I think that will be a very interesting fight. Max Holloway has some incredible striking, incredible cardio. And Volkanovski, he has some incredible power. I mean, that is a very powerful puncher for the featherweight division. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup to see if Max can withstand that much power. And if he does, I honestly think he's the best featherweight of all time. He's lost to Dustin Poirier, who was the former interim champion, and Conor McGregor. But when he fought them, when they were both in featherweight, he was about 20 years old, just entered the sport. So, I mean, if Conor and Max fought today, I honestly think Max Holloway would win. Max has just gotten so much better. He's gotten so much better over the past years, and that he's one of the most dominant champions in the sport right now. I mean, just go look at his fight against Brian Ortega, and he was just piecing him apart. I mean, it was just a bloodbath. So this weekend we also have another really good fight that I'm excited for in Copenhagen, UFC Copenhagen. Jack Hermanson versus Jared Cannonier. Um, Hermanson, his last fight versus Souza was just absolutely incredible. Just dominated a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt for 5 rounds. I mean, I was surprised because he took that fight on short notice, but just dominated. So I think if Hermanson wins this fight, he's right in line for a title picture. I think it's going to be either him or Paulo Costa for the next title shot in the middleweight division. Of course, after the Robert Whittaker and Israel Adesanya fight in October. One interesting thing, or not interesting, but one thing that MMA fans are kind of curious about is what the main event for UFC 245 is going to be. That fight is in December and takes place in Vegas. Right now, I believe Amanda Nunes is going to be defending her title. We just talked about Max Holloway versus Volkanovski for the featherweight title. And right now, there's been some rumors as to who's going to be the main event for that card. Some rumors have been John Jones is going to be defending his title. I don't know who he would be defending his title against. I would imagine the winner of Corey Anderson versus Johnny Walker, but I don't know. Rumors have been the trilogy fight to Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic. And one rumor, and I hope this one's true, is Khabib versus Tony Ferguson. That fight needs to happen. Even if it doesn't happen at 245 and it's not the main event, it needs to happen soon. That would be the most incredible MMA fight ever. I mean, you have Khabib, who is the most dominant UFC champion right now. He is just absolutely destroying everybody. He's taking world-class, world champion level guys and just making them look like they shouldn't even be in the cage with him. It's just incredible, his fighting style. And it's so basic, but he's so good at it. I mean, his wrestling is just phenomenal. And he has, I mean, his striking is very underrated. I mean, no, he doesn't have like the best technical striking of all time, but he's very good defensively. He doesn't get hit a lot. And because he threatens you with those takedowns, he can get in there and hit you a lot because you're scared of the takedowns and you're not going to defend the strikes as much. So, and with Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu is just filthy. And that man has some stupid cardio. I mean, he has the cardio of a fucking horse. It's absolutely ridiculous. And both of them is just incredible to watch. So I believe that's going to be like one of the greatest MMA fights ever. Last thing I want to talk about in MMA, and this will close out the show today, is the main event for UFC 244. This card is absolutely stacked. I mean, you have Darren Till versus Kelvin Gastelum. You have Derek Lewis versus Ivanov. There's some other ones I can't remember off the top of my head, but the main event, Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal. That is going to be incredible. If you like striking in MMA, that is a fight you have to watch. Order the pay-per-view, go to a sports bar, you have to watch this fight. It is going to be absolutely incredible. Two tough-ass dudes with chins of steel. Nate Diaz has some ridiculous cardio. Jorge Masvidal, extremely technical knockout artist. I mean, he has the fastest knockout in UFC history in 5 seconds. I mean, when he KO'd Ben Askren by a flying knee. So that is going to be an absolutely incredible matchup. So that concludes the news topics that we're going to talk about for today. Um, Tomorrow, I'm going to put up a video, even though it's Thursday. I'm just going to put up 3 videos this week. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about news and politics. And then Friday, I'm going to be talking about sports, like previews before football games, the UFC Copenhagen preview, and talking about the MLB playoffs. So, to finish out the show, let's go to the dumb slut of the day. Today's dumb slut is PETA. The reason why PETA is the dumb slut of the day is because they contacted the UFC because they're mad at him they're mad at Khabib Nurmagomedov for wrestling bears as a child. Now, if you don't know, Khabib is from Russia. When his father is a wrestling coach, so whenever he was a child, his father would have him wrestle bears just to have him wrestle something. The bear was chained up, and he wasn't hurting the animal or anything. He was just like grappling with it. And PETA saw the video and tried to get the UFC to cut ties with Khabib, who's their best champion right now, so that makes no sense. Not to mention, this is something that happened when he was 4 years old, so like 1991, 1992, somewhere around then. I mean, why are you mad at him for something that he did like when he was and not something that like he necessarily wanted to do, it was something his dad made him do, because you know how fucking Russians are. There were some badass motherfuckers. I mean, like, I don't know. I just think it's so dumb that they're getting all mad about that, even though they kill dogs and other animals. There's other bigger problems that they should be worrying about if they really care about animals that much. Not a 4-year-old Russian wrestling bears, because I mean every 4-year-old Russian is wrestling bears. So anyway, that concludes today's show. Thank you for watching. I appreciate the support. Be sure to hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Sly Pig News Network. And follow my blog at slypignews.wordpress.com. Thank you.